Hi, and welcome to Gen Friends. I'm your host, Sherry Hudson-Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And with me tonight is Terry O'Connell, the Executive Director of the In-Depth Genealogist. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Sherry. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. Glad to have you here. And we have Shelley Murphy from Family Tree Girl, or known as the Family Tree Girl. How are you doing tonight, Shelley?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Good to have you here. And Mary Kircher-Roddy from MKR Genealogy. Hi, Mary.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good,
Wow. Good. We are going to be talking about Maagi. And Maagi is the Midwestern African American Institute. Did I say that right? No? What is it?
It's the Midwest African American Genealogy
Institute. I forgot the genealogy part. Okay. Okay. So we thought since they just finished up their conference, it would be fun to have Shelley come and talk to us about it because I think a lot of people don't know about this institute and it's very, very important. And so tell us a little bit about how it got started, what your purpose is.
Okay, well, we got started in St. Louis at Harris Stowe University, and that was in 2013. And what it was addressing African American research and being able to teach anyone, not just African Americans, but anyone to come in. It's a 3-day institute, so it's not a conference. So people are not coming to get lectures, they're coming to work. Okay. They have pre-assignments and they have homework and they have the opportunity now that we're at Allen County Library to do research, and work on things, that links to whatever the track they're in. There's 4 tracks. My track is fundamental methods and strategies. Track 2A is beginning DNA. Track 2B is intermediate to advanced DNA. And track 3 is pre and post slavery. And then track 4 is the writing track. I oversee track 1. The DNA is Bernice Bennett. And they actually, this year was the first one we did 2A. And Janice Lovelace is the one that she was the faculty for that track 2A, the beginning. And the track 2A grew out of the people that attended the year before. They just weren't ready for what Shannon Christmas, Nika Smith, and Bernice was putting there, which was intermediate to, advanced. And they weren't prepared. So that's why they started a 2A track. Janice Minor Forte out of Chicago oversees track 3. So Juliana Suits is there. Melissa Tennant from the library is faculty. Roberta Ridley, and then Dr. Alfred Brothers, who is a military scholar. And so he teaches 3 classes. Juliana's got 3. They're actually getting 12 sessions over the 3 days.
Wow.
And of course, research time. And we typically have a meet and greet the Monday night, and then Maagi starts on Tuesday. Wednesday night, we have our famous brick wall night. So about 15, 20, 30 or whatever we'll start the brick wall night at 6 o'clock. Bring your food, your sandwich, whatever it is, but bring a brick wall. And we go one by one around, and everybody there is tuned in to each other's brick walls, and everybody tries to give new ideas. The computers are all on the laps, and so we just go around to everybody gets a chance to say, this is my wall, this is where I'm stuck.
I love that. I love that idea. Yeah, my genealogy club does something similar. We have one meeting where people bring their brick wall ancestors, and then we trade. And so 2 months later, we come back and see, you really have a brick wall, or maybe somebody has found something. It's so important to let other people see what you're doing.
Well, I blogged about a genealogy buddy. and to get one, and we swapped files. I swapped with Victoria Robinson, and it's a brick wall for probably 30 years, still there, and she's got one too. So we actually swapped files because maybe something is right in front of us, and we just, you know, haven't seen it. So that's the
So
gist of Maagi. So it's always that week after July 4th. And it starts on a Tuesday. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's at the Allen County Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Wow. So every year. So once a year.
Yes, we just finished our 6th year.
Wow. That is fabulous.
Yeah, and we had My Heritage was our new sponsor this year, which was nice. And so, but you know, Family Search and Ancestry, all our, you know, sponsors of the Institute. But we're the only one in the country that focuses specifically on African American research. Angela's not here, but I will announce her new track that she's switching.
Great.
She's not going to do the writing. She's going to do the 5 civilized tribes and the freedmen of those. And I haven't met anybody that can touch her on the 5 civilized tribes.
No.
Yeah, you know, I haven't. You know her, Mary, don't you? I think you know.
I do too. I do too.
No one can touch her. You know, I just, you know, we just step back and let her go. You know, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
How many people would you say attended this year?
Well, first, let me tell you, one of the things that we maintain or we insist is that the classes are small. So put it this way, I won't ever have, and I've let it go once, couldn't handle it, and it was too much for the instructors. I had 20. Too many. 15 is the ideal for my class. DNA won't cap over 14 to 15 in each of those classes. And same for Janice can do, she can do over 15. And then Angela, she likes hers no more than 10. So usually there's, here she comes on.
Hey, here she comes.
Yes. Hey, Angela. Hey, was just talking about the size of the Maagi classrooms. But the point why we have them is because of the hands-on and the interacting that happens. You can't get that with a class of 40. It's hard even with 20. And people have, all I can say is how they comment about the size is about the experience that they have, because it's such a close knit. And the learning is not even encouraged, it just happens because everybody is involved with everybody's, you know, either the brick wall or whatever the strategy is. So and Angela, I announced your Indian track also.
Yeah, Angela, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do next year with your 5 tribes track.
Yes, this is going to be a track that is devoted to the freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes. Now, the freedmen, everyone is not aware that the 5 tribes that were relocated during the Trail of Tears, the migration, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Muskogee Creek, and Seminole nations, those individuals who were especially the leaders of the tribe, wealthier members of the tribe, they also held slaves. And as I always tell people, who do you think carried the luggage on the trail? Their slaves did, the principal chiefs and their family members. They held people enslaved. And the Dawes records, which a lot of people use all the time, which there are over 100,000 different families, 14,000 of them are freedmen, former slaves who have records from 1867 on up to statehood, which was 1907. And Oklahoma freedmen descendants are the largest single group of African Americans who have a documented tie to a Native American tribe. 14,000 files.
Wow.
That's, you know, hundreds of thousands.
Amazing.
And those of us who have, of course, Oklahoma ties, my great-grandparents and my grandfather, they were Choctaw freedmen. And particularly because some of the communities were close or near another community. You all know Nika Smith, her folks were Cherokee freedmen. And anyway, next year at Maagi, we're going to have a track devoted exclusively to this group. We already have a registration up, by the way. We already have a pre-registered for it. But this is, I mean, it's going to be very, very extensive in terms of the classes. We're going to talk about the Dawes records. We're going to talk about the 1890 records. And Oklahoma is probably the only state in the country that did not lose the records in the 1923 fire. Number one, it wasn't a state, so it was a territory. So I think those records were kind of tucked away in another place. The 1890 census is alive and well if you're from Oklahoma and from the 5 tribes. And we're going to talk about those records. We're going to talk about the 1885 Choctaw-Chickasaw Freedmen census. We're going to talk about the 1880 roll of authenticated Cherokees. We're going to talk about multiple rolls, multiple resources, school records, and with the military, there are 2 regiments in the United States Colored Troops that were comprised of freedmen from the Creek and Cherokee nations, the 79th and U.S. And the 83rd U.S. Colored Troops. They were both infantry. And there were also Black soldiers in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Indian Home Guards. And so we're going to talk about those, have sessions devoted to those. The faculty members are specialists, people who descend from and who specialize in the freedmen from the 5 tribes. So I'm excited about it. It's overdue. People have been asking me for a while. I've been putting it off. I said, okay, 2019. That's the year.
Well, I'm telling you, I don't have any ancestors in that area, but that sounds good to me. I'd want to take it.
I tell you what, and if you're a professional and if you have clients, you have ties, you want to know about these records.
It's absolutely.
Remember, what was it? Henry Louis Gates, when he had Don Cheadle on, his folks were Chickasaw Freedmen. He had never heard of them. Neither had Henry Louis Gates. And of course, they only gave him just a sliver. I ended up blogging about it because there's a lot more to that family than was given to him. But there are not enough people who do specialize in the freedmen of the 5 tribes. And the records are enormous. It's incredible.
It sounds so exciting. So either one of you can answer this question. Who needs to come to Maagi?
Oh, that's a good one. I say anyone researching anyone in the United States.
Anyone. I would agree. You don't have to be African American to attend Maagi. Number one, plenty of people are not African American, but they have clients who are, and
or relatives,
who are.
Right.
Plus, we're going to be talking about the larger record set because there are different categories among the Dawes records: rolls by blood, freedmen records, newborn records, minor roll records, intermarried whites. We're going to be talking about all that. And if it's something, for example, in that track that you want to learn, that track is open. But Maagi itself, there are plenty of people who help African Americans research their family history. They may know a little bit. Oh, yes, Family Search has the Freedmen's Bureau and the Freedmen's Bank. But how many people are aware of how to get proceedings from the Prince Hall Masons? How many people know what the Prince Hall Masons are? How many people know what the GUOOF, which is the African American Odd Fellows, with the GU and the 3 O's? How many people are aware of Mosaic Templars? These are resources that people need to be aware of. If you find a headstone and see something on Find a Grave, I was so excited. In fact, Shelley, you may remember this. I was giving a presentation on how to reconstruct an African American community through Black benevolent societies. And so one of the images I had up was the Supreme Royal Circle of Friends, a group founded in Arkansas. And this one lady said, "Oh my gosh, I have artifacts. One of my ancestors was from it." She pulled up pictures. Wow. She had membership.
Yes, I remember that.
I was so excited. it's something people need to know. People have no idea the wonderful resources within the African American, I'll say, research closet. It's not just census, it's not just military records online, and it's not just Freedmen's Bureau. There's so much more.
And I want to also say, for African Americans in this country, you can't research African Americans without researching Europeans, especially if you're going to cross anything back into the slavery time.
Absolutely.
You have to do both.
Yes.
All of us do both, whatever way we connect, you know.
And it's mandatory for us.
Yeah, we have to, because if their ancestors were enslaved, who's got the records?
That's right.
It's not the slaves.
Right.
So the connection, you know, and now with all the DNA out there, those that are pursuing it. So Maagi brings a lot to the table. I'd like to see more people that are certified to come into Maagi, because I think they're missing components that we're able to use, and we know they're there, and not just the surface and the typical records. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is to teach people about staying local. Go local with your research. Don't pay as much attention to what's online. Go to that local courthouse, library, historical societies, and things like that, because that's more of where the records are, instead of up in DC or Salt Lake City.
Right.
You know,
as you say that, Shelley, you know, I was in Kentucky. I was in Kentucky about 3 weeks ago, I guess now. And the ladies there who hosted me were so gracious and they know I love cemeteries. We went to visit a couple of cemeteries while we're walking around, because I was excited to see Mosaic Templars. And but then I looked and I said, oh my God, you've got an American Woodman. Now, I'm not saying Woodman of the world.
No.
Those are the white folks. I said, American Woodman. And she just looked at me like, what are you excited about? What are you looking at? What? I took her to the headstone, and she was like, well, oh, it looks like a little log, doesn't it? And I explained to her what the American Woodman was about. And she had never heard of it, number one. I said, well, have you ever seen the Woodman of the World? Their headstones, they're beautiful. No, I never have. Well, of course not. They've never gone into a lot of, large city, fancy cemeteries because they don't have people buried there. And she had no idea. And I explained to her, what the organization was and the death benefit that members got. I said, well, this is the African American organization.
And they let women in.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And what was amazing, the United Brothers of Friendship and the Sisters of the Mysterious 10, it was founded in Kentucky. So on my slideshow, I showed the orphanage, because they did a lot of things in the community that people who don't live in the community wouldn't know. But you learn this at Maagi, some things that, it's common knowledge to some folks, but maybe not as common to others. And when we talked about the colored orphanage, and what was really wonderful, the day we had the cemetery tour, they took me to see the old building, and I was standing.
Oh my gosh.
And this is, UBF founded it. And yet they were totally unaware of what preceded the orphanage was the society itself, and the death benefit, and what the headstones look like, and all of that, and on and on and on. But that's why you go to Maagi, to find out those resources that if you're not a part of the community and the local community, you might miss it.
Yeah.
So go local, absolutely.
That's very true. I have high hopes for tomorrow as I head down to Charleston to go to the Historical Society down there, because I am working on an African American family right now, and I will be looking into the records of those that enslaved them, hoping to find something. So that's
Robin. You said South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
You know Robin.
I do know Robin.
There you go.
Robin.
Yes, yes.
Tony. Are you going to be in?
Tony Carrier.
And Tony. Oh, yeah, I know Tony too. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
because If you see the USCTs, particularly the 33rd and the 34th, they were involved with the raid of the Combahee. And so just, oh my gosh, the history there is just so incredible. And the Battle of Pocatello, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, wow, you should have a great
I will share this about Track 1, since I oversee that and teach in it. It is not necessarily records that Track 1 goes through. Those 12 sessions are on methods and strategies. So we're teaching different ways of doing things. Angela did a class on how to document a community. I do the evaluation, the evidence. You know, you hear them talking about the so what and the timelines and things like that. That's the kind of stuff they're doing hands-on, walking them through with their brick wall as they're going through those 12 classes. It all links to whatever the pre-assignment is to start building a actual timeline.
I was just going to ask you about that. What are the pre-assignments? Because you said there was assignments ahead of time.
Well, for Track 1, the pre-assignment is to start building a timeline, and they get instructions. And they also had a case study, which was military. So they got exposed to, number one, Revolutionary War, because typically, and I'll say this just in my experience, we don't, well, a lot of African Americans and whites might not see that there was African-American patriots and things like that. There's almost 7,000 African-Americans and American Indians. So if they can cross back and they get back that far, they need to keep going and learn a little more about the war, the soldiers. You know, DAR did the Forgotten Patriot book, and it's 800 and some pages, and it's state by state of where the patriots are people that served that have been documented. So I'm actually working with some folks right now, these prospective members, and a couple of them are people of color. And the pre-assignment, they won't get their certificate for Track 1 unless they complete that pre-assignment and start building on that timeline. The timeline is a little different than the typical ones. I always said if Thomas McKenzie did it, he'd do it in Excel. I build the table in Word. And yeah, I build a table in Word. I know. There you go, Mary. Yeah, you can make it fancy or simple, but you want people to do something that's going to be consistent
and right for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works for them. And again, folks like Thomas, Blaine, they're doing Excel. Well, my Word, I can track and do the same thing pretty much, you know. And so building that, learning that, they figure out that they're going to have a packet or a document in chronological order on everything that concerns whatever their goal was. It could be, I want to know who my third great grandfather was. So you're tracking everything there. Now, some comments are genealogists say they don't need to do it. Ancestry builds one for you online. There's nothing local on Ancestries.
That's right.
If you look at that timeline that they give on the history, there's nothing local.
A good point.
If I was, it's national or not, you know, but several states, United States of America type for Civil War time or whatever. But if I put Jefferson County / West Virginia, then I need to see John Brown. I need to see, you know, 1859. I need to see the Civil War. I want to know what battles were by their house. You know, if you know where they're living. Because then again, my question is going to come up, what were they doing during that time? We know what slaves were doing, but what about the free people and the poor whites? Because again, you know, on Angela's map in the Freedmenville site, that's another thing. If they make it to 1870, I need them to back up and show that they had checked that map in the Freedmenville site and had checked to see if their ancestors went to the closest field office. Things.
Right. I love that site. I have used it several times. I love it. Thank you for putting that together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll share is our so what. So we teach them basics of evaluation and understanding the different types of evidence and sources and things like that. Most of the people that come in track 1 are not beginners. They're 10, 15, 20-year researchers learning a little different way. I said, I'm going to teach you the art of asking questions. You're going to talk to this document. You're going to go cell by cell and question what you got or what are you missing, and then where do you have to go get it. And then you start building from the timeline. They will build their research plan from there. So that sums it up. And what I do as a faculty is I'm basically walking around smiling every time they say they got something. I say, so what? What's that mean? What are you going to do? What's next? And it just keeps drilling them to turn the critical thinking skills on and question more with what they have in front of them to help break down brick walls. And it works. It works.
Sounds like a fabulous track. And I think people need to remember, too, that African American genealogy is genealogy. Research is research.
Yes.
Yes. The same methodologies apply. There's just maybe different record types that we need to learn about, but it's the same methodology. And I think people start going, oh, well, I don't know how to do African American.
Or, oh, I don't have any African American. Well, keep taking your DNA because it's showing up. And vice versa.
Yes, ma'am.
It's showing up.
That is so true. And cousins are going to start connecting with you. So you need to learn. You need to learn those record sets that you haven't used before. But Maagi sounds wonderful. It just sounds like a wonderful small conference where you can get some foundation and basic research principles, and then move on to the important record sets that you would need. It's going on my bucket list.
Come on. And plus, look where we're at the Fort Wayne, at Fort Wayne, Indiana, and the Genealogy Center. I mean, they're the largest holder of U.S. records compared to world records in Salt Lake City, at the Family History Library. So, and they welcome us with open arms. And they also are learning Percy. A lot of people don't know about Percy. That's the first class is the library is putting on a session on how to use upstairs. I'm going to say upstairs, and how to do Percy. And so everybody got a glimpse of the millions of records that they have as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just going there is on my bucket list. So see there, I've got a combination that I can get to. Does anybody else have any questions they would like to ask about Maagi?
Hey.
Yeah.
So I just want to reconfirm what you said, Shelley. You said for your class, they come in with their own brick walls.
Yes, they come with one.
Okay.
That's a pre-assignment. I send out the instructions on how to do a timeline. And then I also have, and this is the beauty of having small classes, I might have interaction with them before they even get to Maagi, because if they're struggling or have questions, so we have interaction prior to, but we do it in a group email. And so everybody gets to hear if somebody has a question. And, because someone else might be thinking the same thing. For a lot of researchers that are self-taught and they just go to conferences, doing a timeline is something that they're not exposed to.
Right.
Or a habit that they would have established.
Right. So let me ask you this then. So someone like me, so pretty much my genealogy is very bland. It's all white.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to come and I bring in a brick wall, it doesn't have to be specifically African American. It could be anything brick walled in mine. Okay, I just want to make that very clear for all our viewers so they know that they're going to be accepted with open arms with their very vanilla research problems.
Right. And actually, which is interesting, just about everybody's going to have to tap into it.
Right.
And again, I mentioned that earlier. If there's slave ancestry back there, you're going to have to research that slaveholder's family, just like you're researching your own.
Right.
You got to still know the community and the history and the things that happened locally where those records are and things like that. So yes, I think there's great value if more white, European, whatever we want to call folks, come to Maagi, because the strategies in doing that so what in that timeline, they can do it with any research. There's no color for that.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
and we twist it towards the African American because of the different record sets as well.
Right.
Sure.
So 3 days, 12 sessions, and it's $325. Yes.
Wow.
Great price.
That is a good price.
Yeah. It is. Okay, think of the other institute.
That's what I was just thinking.
I'm telling you. And you're getting 12 sessions, and again, the small class is the beauty, because now you just created another network.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And what about accommodations? I'm sure you get hotel deals and things like that, just like the other institutes do.
Yes. We're the Marriott, is right across from the library there. Yes. And I think the Hilton's right there too. Yes.
Yeah, the Hilton. Shelley, did you talk about the Wednesday evening brick wall session?
I did.
Okay, great.
I did. I told them about the brick wall night. And the thing of it is, there's nothing wrong getting pats on the back. All I do is facilitate it. It just works like a charm. Because people start asking questions, they're sharing the brick wall, but now you got 15, 20 other people thinking about your brick wall.
Exactly. Even if it's not broken that night, they're still going to remember that. And if they're going to researching, they may find something and get a hold of you. So it's always good to bounce ideas and your research off of other people. You never know what they may run across. I've done that. Other people have done that for me. So it's a fabulous idea.
I will say our Irish group does that monthly. Like, you come in with who are you researching, what are your problems, and you, depending on how many people show up, 10 to 20 replies as to how you can work around it.
Well, because we don't know everything.
Exactly.
But
go ahead, Mary. What were you going to say?
Collective group, yes. Go ahead.
So we, at Seattle Genealogical Society, we also have a brick wall panel. And the thing that I really like about that is, you come in with your problem. It's not related to me at all, but someone's going to give you an idea, which I can then use in my research. So it's not just ideas for me, but ideas for everybody that I'm going to be learning from.
Exactly. And I think that's what getting more education is so important. And take classes that are kind of out of the box from what you normally take. You never know what you're going to learn. Even going to a beginner's class after you've been researching for 30 plus years, you're going to still learn something new. It doesn't matter that it says beginner.
Right.
People have different ideas and different ways they do something that may click for you, and an idea may come up, and you may be able to resolve a brick wall. So sometimes I think we're too quick to put institutes and classes and presentations in a box and look at that title and just think, oh, I don't need that. Oh, I don't need that. When in fact, you can learn so much. I think it was Peggy Lauritzen that once said that at a conference, she just sat in one room the whole day.
Yes.
She had no idea what was going to happen. She just sat there, and she said it was the best conference she ever had. She learned more than she'd ever learned before.
Well, I'm going to tell you another thing that, at least the ones that come through track one, how we all in different professions and everything say, step outside of the box. I say, no, stay in that box and keep digging. Don't step out of that box. Just like in the community, you'll step out to go to the adjacent communities when you need to, but you need to exhaust in where you're at, where you're finding those records. And how do you know you have exhausted that research? You keep going till something tells you something different. If not, you're on that track. And again, the art of asking questions and these documents, and we have conversations with these documents. Because and a good example is a death certificate. You have some that are going to be filled out, and you're going to have some that's going to be missing information.
Right.
So they go through a drill and they get a beautiful one and it's all filled out, and then we come back and there's stuff missing. So again, what goes into the research plan. You have to identify what's missing, and then where do you get it? Where are you going for it?
And even some of those ones that are all filled out beautifully are not correct. So you still got to prove that.
Well, that DAR, you know, lineage research is always coming into play. That I do the James Dent Walker thing, and I call it the rule of 3. And what he says, if you're stating something, basically, give me 3 pieces of evidence to back it up. And that is what I use for my DAR, and I'm using it in everything now. Yeah,
right. Three independent,
this is a father, son,
sources. Yeah.
Yes, come up with these. And some of the other drills is to look at something or like someone's brick wall and identify the other things that they did not see that person had done. So the class does that. I'm just, again, facilitating on that piece. We did a case study on one, and that individual thought they had a thorough search. The class came up with 19 more things for them to go check out.
Wow.
And this was on the second day. So they had learned how to do a timeline. They had went through the so what already. They gave a list of 19 things. And this person sat in the back of class. They didn't know it was their case. This other person's case study, didn't know anything, right? And he just put his head down and walked on out. It was a shock that there was so much that he thought he had done a great job. And he went on, finished it up based on the input that he received, and published that article. It was published, either the Ohio Society quarterly type thing or one of those type. Yes, we was able to finish it. So that's what we want them to learn how to do.
Power of community. That's wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful. You know, because we can stare at things over and over and over again to the point where it's like proofreading for yourself. You just see it after a while.
Yes.
So,
yeah. But appreciate the opportunity to talk about Maagi. We love it.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, you too, Angela, and that we've been able to find out a little bit more. I'm excited. I'm really going to write that down as one of my bucket lists to come, because you know, the education, the networking that you talked about, the learning new record sets is important, I think, for all of us, and it helps us do our own personal research too. It helps expand our view of our own research. You know, whether we're doing clients or whatever, learning new records helps all of us. So I want to thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
This has been a really, really good discussion. So everybody, we will put the link on Maagi's website so you can learn all about it and make your plans to attend next year. And I'd like to say again, thank you and good night from Gen Friends. We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.